Right now, just hearing the word yawn might already be making your mouth open a little wider. Your eyes get watery, your jaw stretches, and suddenly you're yawning. But here's the strange part. You might not even be tired. In fact, simply seeing someone yawn, hearing about yawning, or even thinking about it can trigger the same reflex in your own body. Humans do it. Dogs do it. Chimpanzees do it. And scientists have discovered that this strange phenomenon might reveal something profound about how our brains work. Because contagious yawning isn't really about sleep. It might actually be about empathy, social connection, and the hidden wiring of the brain. Yawning seems like one of the most boring behaviors in the human body. It's automatic, it's slow, and it usually shows up when you're tired or bored. But neuroscientists studying contagious yawning have found something unexpected. This simple reflex may be connected to mirror neurons, emotional contagion, and the way brains synchronize in social groups. In other words, when you yawn after someone else does, your brain may literally be mirroring their internal state. So today, we're exploring one of the strangest behaviors in biology, why yawning spreads from person to person, what contagious yawning reveals about empathy, and why evolution might have wired our brains to copy something as simple as opening our mouths. First, let's break down the behavior itself. A yawn is surprisingly complex. Your jaw opens wide, your lungs pull in a deep breath, your eardrums stretch, your heart rate briefly increases. All of this happens in about 6 seconds. And it's controlled by a network deep inside the brain, involving the brainstem, the autonomic nervous system, and several regions connected to the sleep-wake cycle. Yawning shows up during transitions in alertness, when you wake up, when you get sleepy, or when your brain shifts attention levels. For a long time, scientists believed yawning existed simply to bring more oxygen into the bloodstream, but experiments quickly challenged that idea. Researchers had volunteers breathe pure oxygen. If oxygen levels controlled yawning, the behavior should stop, but people kept yawning anyway, which meant the real explanation had to be somewhere else. One of the leading explanations today is called the brain cooling hypothesis. Your brain is incredibly sensitive to temperature. Even tiny increases in heat can affect how neurons fire and how efficiently neural networks process information. Yawning may act like a kind of biological cooling system. When you yawn, cool air enters the mouth, blood flow increases in the face and neck, and the movement of the jaw and sinuses helps circulate cooler blood toward the brain. Some experiments support this idea. When scientists cooled people's foreheads or nasal passages, yawning frequency dropped. When the environment became warmer, yawning increased. That suggests yawning might help regulate brain temperature and maintain alertness, but this still doesn't explain the strangest part of the phenomenon: why yawning spreads from one individual to another. Contagious yawning is surprisingly powerful. In experiments, people exposed to videos of yawning faces start yawning within seconds or minutes, and just reading about yawning can trigger the reflex, which, if you're still watching, may already be happening. But contagious yawning isn't universal. Children under about 4 years old rarely catch yawns. That's important, because around that same age, children begin developing stronger social cognition and empathy responses. This led scientists to suspect something deeper. Maybe yawning spreads not because of air or fatigue, but because of how brains simulate other people's experiences. In the 1990s, neuroscientists studying monkeys discovered something remarkable. Certain neurons fired when a monkey performed an action, but those same neurons also fired when the monkey watched another monkey perform the same action. These became known as mirror neurons. They exist in brain regions involved in imitation, empathy, and understanding other people's behavior. In humans, similar systems appear in the prefrontal cortex, limbic system, and motor planning areas. When you watch someone yawn, these neural circuits may automatically simulate the action inside your own brain. Your brain essentially says, "That looks like something we should be doing too," and suddenly, your jaw opens. Contagious yawning may be one of the clearest examples of automatic imitation in human behavior. Contagious yawning isn't just triggered by strangers. It happens far more often between people who share social bonds. You are much more likely to catch a yawn from a friend, a family member, or someone you care about than from a complete stranger.
Studies show that the probability of contagious yawning increases with emotional closeness. That suggests the behavior is connected to empathy networks in the brain. The stronger the emotional connection, the stronger the yawning contagion, which means yawning might actually be a form of emotional resonance. Your brain isn't just copying an action, it's syncing with another person's internal state. Humans aren't the only species that experience yawning contagion. Chimpanzees do it, bonobos do it, and surprisingly, dogs do it too. Experiments have shown that dogs often yawn after watching their human owners yawn, but they respond far less to yawns from strangers. That suggests dogs may also experience a form of cross-species emotional contagion. Researchers believe this behavior may have evolved through thousands of years of human-dog social bonding, which means your dog might literally be mirroring your mental state. So why would evolution select for something as strange as contagious yawning? The answer may lie in group coordination. In social animals like primates, wolves, and early humans, survival often depended on synchronized group behavior, sleeping together, waking together, moving together. If one individual becomes tired, their yawn might signal a shift in group alertness. When others catch the yawn, it spreads the message across the group. In this way, contagious yawning may act as a subtle nonverbal communication signal, a biological way of saying, our energy levels are changing. That helps synchronize the sleep-wake cycle of the entire group. Now here's one of the most intriguing findings. People with higher scores on empathy tests tend to experience stronger contagious yawning. Meanwhile, certain neurological conditions show the opposite pattern. Individuals with autism spectrum conditions often display reduced contagious yawning responses. Researchers believe this may be related to differences in social cognition and mirror neuron activity. This doesn't mean empathy disappears, but it suggests that contagious yawning may involve the same neural circuits used for understanding other people's emotions, which turns an ordinary reflex into something surprisingly meaningful. Here are some quick facts that make yawning even stranger. The average yawn lasts about 6 seconds. People yawn more frequently when the surrounding temperature is within a certain thermal window. Even thinking about yawning increases the probability of doing it. Blind individuals can still experience contagious yawning when they hear someone yawn. And chimpanzees have been observed catching yawns from video recordings of other chimpanzees, which means the brain doesn't even need a real individual present. Just the idea of a yawn can activate the reflex. Yawning might seem like one of the simplest behaviors in the human body, but beneath that slow jaw stretch lies a complex network of brain activity. It involves thermoregulation, automatic imitation, mirror neurons, and possibly even the neural foundations of empathy. What starts as a reflex meant to regulate brain function may also serve as a subtle form of social communication, a tiny signal that spreads through groups, synchronizing behavior, linking nervous systems, and revealing how deeply connected our brains really are. So the next time someone yawns and you feel your own jaw stretching open, it might not mean you're tired. It might mean your brain is simply doing what it evolved to do, connecting with the minds around you, and if this video made you yawn, your neurons were probably just proving the point. You don't notice most of the signals your brain sends and receives every day. Tiny reflexes, subtle reactions, behaviors that seem meaningless, but sometimes those small behaviors reveal something bigger. A yawn spreads across a room, one person to another, brain to brain, and suddenly a simple reflex turns into a glimpse of how deeply social our nervous systems really are. If you enjoy exploring the hidden logic behind everyday human behavior, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick around, because there are many more strange things your brain does that you've probably never questioned.